when you think of the word essence, you also think of perfume and the flower essences that contains really the strength. And so I think if we want to practice to be the essence of ourselves, it's connected with being in our power, where we are completely integrated with ourselves, and all of the extra things, the distractions, the reactions, all of that is peripheral. And you want to go to the center, go to the point. And of course, the essence of a human being is their soul. And the soul has the form of a point of light. And contained in that infinitesimal point of light is this ocean of experience of the past and the future, this ocean of your qualities. And of course, the soul is connected with God, the Supreme Soul. And this one is also, in essence, a point of light, but which contains the ocean of love, peace, purity, bliss, wisdom, and all the knowledge. And when he speaks to us, he says, I am telling you the essence of all the scriptures. And if you know anything about the scriptures of India, you understand the importance of reincarnation, because it would take several births to read all of them and understand what they're all about. And so when he talks about the essence of all the scriptures, that's the essence of all the human understanding and the way that humanity has interpreted the concepts that were originally given to humanity by God, the ocean of knowledge. So it is that there is this infinite and the infinitesimal. And this is a very interesting concept to think about, because we have to be still and silent, but we also have to be all-encompassing, so that we're not biased, we're not limited by one thing and another. So the infinite is all the experience that the soul has had while there has been this journey through many lives on this earth. And the essence of this journey is, who essentially am I? And we understand, what am I? I'm a soul, I'm a being of light, I have all these qualities, I have a predestined role in the drama, which is also very interesting. But then who essentially am I? And there we go back to the perfume, which is also a kind of vibration. And one thing that I am very interested in is music. And in music, say you have a full piano, and the full piano has 89 keys, all the way from the bass music tones to the highest. And this corresponds to what the human voice can create, the very bass notes of a bass singer all the way to the soprano, the very, very high notes. The male voice goes low, the female voice goes high. And the totality of human experience can be expressed in song. And song is also something very essential. And every soul, in my view, has their own individual vibration, which I think corresponds with their essence. And when you go into meditation and you go very deep, you become free from the consciousness of the body. You become just a point of light, and you are tuned with God, the Supreme Being. And when you're tuned, there is a vibration that takes place and that spreads and vibrates and resonates and radiates throughout the atmosphere. And that vibration, I think, corresponds to your essence. And each one has their own note. And I think that when a person is in what we call body consciousness, they are out of tune. The vibration of the self is not true. The note is not right. You're flat. And so you have to tune with God in meditation to be at your right essential vibration. And when you are very conscious of when you are really in tune, then you can radiate, you can operate in a way that corresponds to the real self, and you are authentic, you are true to yourself. And I would say also you are in your power. So then comes the matter of interaction with people and communication. And many people spend a lot of time working on their communication skills. They want to behave in a way that corresponds to their values. And not everybody's values correspond with each other. There are many, many different aspects to why a person would have this value and another one would have that value. And some of them do not correspond with each other. And there you have to negotiate. But there are a lot of things that happen really deeply on the inside, as well as the expression of communication that is external, that is audible, that is visible. And communication, when it is really real and really true, means that I am being absolutely me, honest in the sense that I'm not fake, but this is me in my essence, speaking about what is required in that particular scene of the drama. God tells us you are all actors, and there's a vast, enormous drama going on. Everyone is an actor and a spectator. And when everyone is in their essential state of self, then the interaction, the communication is harmonious. But when we move away from our essence and we go into some form of false consciousness, which you might want to call false ego, then we have come under the influence of the other characters in the scene or we come under the influence of conditioning, or we want to make a particular impression. And in doing these things, we move away from our essence. And sometimes we think that if I create this persona, that's better than my essence. And then it means that a person is not sure of themselves. A person doesn't really have that quality of self-regard and self-respect, which they would not move away from. So I think that this is also to be essenceful, is to be really in contact with the essential self and to be really who one is, and give that more importance to what we may want to call public opinion. There are ways of presenting oneself that are fashionable in one time and something else that's fashionable in another time. Everybody likes to create a good impression. And in the process of wanting to be approved of by the people around, you want people to like you, you want people to think that you're good and valuable and all of these things. When you have a desire like this, it means that you are not in contact with your essence and you're creating something unreal and aligning yourself with that. And then the reality of yourself is given second place. And then one is not in one's essence, but more split off from the self. And when this takes a very severe form, it can even be classified as some kind of mental illness. And one is mentally very uncomfortable and unstable. But I think when you are giving a lot of importance to who you really are and what you really are, even if it doesn't correspond with the preferences of someone else, you have to ask yourself this question: who do I want to satisfy and why? And I think the most satisfactory of all things is to be really in one's essence, to be really real. And for those people who think about what they look like in the eyes of God, or how does God look at them? What does God feel about them? And of course, God sees you exactly as you are and sees past all the things that have happened, because there is an essential state of the soul, which is sometimes called the original state. And when you practice meditation, this is one of the things that you're striving for, is to return back to your original condition, your original state. And the original state of the soul is perfect and pure and exactly correct, absolutely beautiful, and you would not want to be any other way. But of course, as we pass through time, we reincarnate, many things happen which distort the soul. If something nice happens, it's not going to disturb you or distort you, but sometimes there are very harsh experiences, very shocking experiences, which do distort the soul. And then you are moved away from your essence. And so then the practice of spiritual work is to get back from all of those distortions and reach back to your essential self. And you do not arrive at it by imagining what it probably was, because that will not be really real. That will be artificial. It will be a construct. So the question arises, if I am, depleted and distorted, how do I come back to my essence? How do I restore myself to my realness? And this is where yoga is very relevant. It's a phenomenon. I think not everybody realizes this, but when you are in yoga with God, the Supreme Being, it sets up a resonance. And this resonance, if you can hold yourself in yoga long enough, it actually causes you to return back to your essence. And so that's why it is recommended that spend a good amount of time in yoga, because it takes time, first of all, to get really accurately connected, and then to hold that steady and still so that the resonance can be amplified and you can actually feel it lining up all the molecules of your being so that any distortions get straightened out, any kind of contamination from experiences of sorrow or trauma or anything like this can be smoothed out in that resonance and that vibration. And as you continue on a daily practice of yoga, you actually refine this, and ultimately you become completely free from those dissonances, from those things which have distorted you and bent you out of shape. And you return back to the pure, beautiful flower that you once were. And so this is why we have many, many expressions connected with being Essenceful. In respect of going into expansion, one interpretation of this is that people create stories to convince other people that whatever they did or didn't do was because of this and because of that, and they will create justifications as to why something wrong was done or something right wasn't done. And these go on and on and on. These are called expansions. And it happens sometimes in everyone's experience that you'll be accused of something. You may be accused of something that you recognize and you say, yeah, you're right, I did that, or I didn't do that. And that's the end of it. But very often you'll be accused of something and you know it's right, but you don't want to admit. And that will be a circumstance where you will create a big story of justification and excuse, or even to distract the other people from what they wanted to focus on, so that their attention is no longer on this fault of yours, which you are not interested in admitting, accepting, or putting right. And that takes a lot of time and energy, and it gets you nowhere in particular. So the usefulness of being essence-full is to be able to say, yes, I did this, or no, I didn't do that, or I don't understand what your accusation is. Can you please expand upon it so I know what you're talking about? Sometimes that is necessary. But always the essence is something to do with the truth. And it's often said that the truth is simple. It may be simple, but it's not simplistic. Truth is always very deep, very subtle, and it's like a moment of truth. And when somebody says something that is really true, it may be a painful truth, it may be an inconvenient truth, but whatever it is, it'll be short and sharp and to the point, and it has its own resonance. So when something has a resonance that rings true, you know this expression, the ring of truth, or somebody says something that rings true, it causes people to stop and sit with that resonance, because we're surrounded by so much that is fake or artificial or ordinary, so that when there's something real and true, or a person is presenting themselves completely free from any of these masks and artifices and so on, there's a very special feeling that, this person is true, you can trust this person, you can resonate with what they're saying, with even their experience of life, what happened to them, and let it be. And you come to the essence of the quality of a person. So in essence and honesty, the resonance, the ring of truth, the perfume of sweetness, and the sound vibration of that being. When all of these things are aligned, you can feel something. And that is really, I think, what is meant by being essence-full. So why is this a value? Why is this something that's again and again recommended? Be essence-full, get to the point, be real. And of course, it is because so much of the time, there are so many conventions that ask us to be something which may sound good, but it's not real. People say, okay, dress for success, or if you dress a certain way, then it proves something. Actually, it doesn't. Sometimes God has told us, look, your dress is not the physical clothes that you're wearing, it's your consciousness. So in spirituality, you hear about the dress, but people take it as the physical clothing. And when someone is in body consciousness, in a material consciousness, then you look for the quality. Is there somebody who is wealthy, that they wear very good quality clothes? Are they well coordinated, well presented? And there are people who tell each other and train each other that if you dress a certain way, then you can be trusted. And so what will a dishonest person do? They'll dress that way so people will trust them because, well, people are a bit naive. But if you're essenceful, you will not be naive. You may be simple, but you will be quite awake and aware. And whenever there is something that doesn't fit, that doesn't resonate, that doesn't compute, you'll feel it and you'll notice it and you will not trust it. There are many people in this world who have experienced a lot of suffering and pain and difficulties. And some people will say, well, this is because of their karma. And others will say, no, this is unjust. This is very terrible tragedy, and what did they do to deserve this, and so on. But whatever it is, whether it's a karmic return or a test or just the difficulties that life puts up for you, these things will create a certain amount of distortion in the soul. And sometimes the distortion is so great and happens at such an early age in life where you're not equipped to handle these difficulties, like children who find themselves in circumstances of war. They really get very, very badly traumatized by this. Some people who are in very dysfunctional families as they grow up, they really never acquire the skills that you need in life as we know it. And so the distortions can be such that it takes a person so far away from their essence that they almost cannot ever find who they are. And this is very difficult. It's very painful. It's very disturbing for the person. There are many in that situation. And I think when we're talking about being essenceful, we're also talking about it in the context of the self as someone who is serving the world. And we talk about spiritual service. So what is spiritual service? Sometimes spiritual service is to enable an individual to make contact with and return to their own essence. And I think that this is also a very important aspect of the practice of being essenceful. Because just as when you are in deep meditation with the Supreme Being and you get into this very powerful resonance which brings you to your essence, in the same way, when you are stabilized in your own essence and you sit in meditation with someone who is really far away from that, you can also amplify your own essence and convey what that feeling of the essential characteristics of the soul is. If you are really in the awareness that I am a pure, peaceful, powerful, loving being of light, and you hold yourself in that essential state, you can actually communicate that non-verbally to another being who is somewhere near you or even in interaction with you. And you set up a vibration which that other being can feel, which can actually be strong enough to enable them to feel what it was like to be themselves in their essential original condition. And to me, this is a very wonderful form of service. It's very subtle, it's nonverbal, it's just in the atmosphere. But people are very much influenced by atmosphere. And the atmosphere of the world at the moment very strongly pulls people away from their essential self. So if you can create an atmosphere which brings them back to their essential self, then you have really served that soul. So I think that an important part of the practice of being essenceful is to be aware that in your life, where you are, the place that you spend most amount of time, it may be in your office, it may be in your living room, it may be all sorts of possibilities, but many people have somewhere that starts to gather their vibrations. And for some people, it is their meditation room. You know, for me, I have several places which are just occupied by myself. And so I use this possibility to amplify the atmosphere. And this is something that Dadi Janki used to talk to me about a lot. The importance of setting up and creating an atmosphere. And then anytime anyone comes into that atmosphere, which you have built up over a long period of time, practicing to be the essential self, they can feel that because it's been built up. It's not a momentary thing. And you're also creating an atmosphere that's very pure. Atmosphere is created by the thoughts, feelings, and activities of a person. And so when you spend a lot of time with yourself, in your essence, in solitude, developing your communication and your relationship with the Supreme Being, this sets up a very strong resonance in that area. And so to do that is to also see now how far can I make this resonance reach? Can it reach a few miles? Can it reach many miles? How far can it reach? And you know, if you think about a star in the sky, it looks so small. But scientists tell us that that light that we're seeing of the star in the sky has taken light years to reach us, for us to be able to recognize it and experience it. And you're also, in essence, a star. You're a bright, beautiful star of spiritual light, which sends light as well as these essential feelings, these qualities: purity, love, power, peace. These are commodities, but they're intangible. And I think the more that we practice to be in our essence, the more concentrated these become. And then you can experience something when it's concentrated. If you think of essence referring to perfume, that is really very concentrated. And I live in an area where they grow lavender, and lavender is a very important perfume in the perfume industry. But in order to get 1 liter of the essence of lavender, essential oil of lavender, you need many, many bushes of lavender, many, many flowers to create that 1 liter. And out of that 1 liter, you may take it even to a more distilled form. And then it's very, very powerful, but in a very tiny quantity. And I think that that image is very useful for us, because this is what we want to be, the essential self, very concentrated upon the self, not mixed up with the experiences and the people and places and everything that comes into our perception through our senses. But the essential self is also detached from all the sensory input, so that you can just be that essential perfume and resonance, which is not influenced by the surroundings, but which actually exudes an influence and fills the surroundings with the spiritual vibrations, with peace, with sweetness, with love. And this, I think, enables another to make contact with their essence, as I was saying. So I think that I will stop there, and maybe we can just pause for a moment to practice, to bring oneself into that essential self, and just be still inside, focusing on this light. And I am this tiny, tiny, intensely bright being of light, which is the essence of my being, the perfume of my reality, the condensed, concentrated form of my pure being. A beautiful, resonant note of pure vibration, like the purest sound of a beautiful singing voice. A fragrance that emanates from me, so clean, fresh, sweet. And I am folded on myself, concentrated in my being, just pure essence. And you go into sweet silence. Thank you. Om Shanti.